Lincoln 6 Echo wakes up, his breath shallow from a nightmare, as his eyes adjusted to the sterile, artificial light of the room. A screen on the wall flickered to life, displaying a series of impersonal, clinical data. His bracelet buzzed, signaling it was time to get dressed. The bracelet, which he wore around his wrist like an ever-present reminder of his predetermined existence, unlocked a drawer. Inside, neatly folded garments waited for him, identical to those worn by everyone in the compound, plain, white tracksuits. His life, like the others, was governed by routine. Stepping into the hallway, Lincoln joined a group of men, all similarly dressed, as they made their way toward the elevator. The walls of the lift were transparent, and through them, breathtaking images of a pristine island appeared, a place supposedly untouched by the contaminants that had ravaged the outside world. A soothing female voice echoed in the elevator, explaining that the world beyond was too dangerous to survive in. But there was hope. A lottery, conducted each week, gave one lucky individual the chance to escape to the island. This week's winner? Starkweather 2 Delta. Be prepared for more names that seem to have been given by Elon Musk himself. Lincoln's gaze hardened as the elevator ascended. The lottery was a cruel illusion. He wasn't meant to win. When the elevator doors opened, Lincoln stepped out into the sprawling compound. Citizens in white tracksuits were scattered across the grounds, participating in various activities, from yoga to swimming. Black-clad supervisors kept a watchful eye on everyone, their presence a constant reminder of the ever-watchful control the compound held over its residents. Lincoln, like the others, had been born and raised in this sterile environment. Life here was regulated, controlled to the smallest detail. At the cafeteria, Lincoln swiped his bracelet to order food, hoping for something different, something vegan. But the nutritionist, a cold-faced supervisor, refused his request and handed him the usual bland, synthetic meal. As Lincoln hesitated, his gaze met that of Jordan 2 Delta, a fellow resident. She was observing from a distance, her eyes filled with sympathy. Without hesitation, Jordan approached and discreetly swapped her tray with his. Before the nutritionist could notice, she slipped away, leaving Lincoln with the food he desired. "Why can't we have a little more freedom?" Lincoln murmured, his frustration growing. Later, he found himself in Dr. Merrick's office, a sterile space filled with clinical instruments and the hum of machines. Dr. Merrick, who oversaw the well-being of the compound's residents, asked Lincoln about his strange dreams, the nightmares that had been plaguing him every night. He also inquired about Lincoln's friendship with Jordan, reminding him of the compound's strict proximity rules. Lincoln's eyes narrowed as he spoke. "The rules are absurd. Why can't I wear something different every day or eat food that I actually want? Why can't we have more choices?" His words hung in the air, a direct challenge to the rigid structure that governed his life. Dr. Merrick's response was calm, almost patronizing. "You are lucky, Lincoln. You've survived in a world that no longer exists. The outside is contaminated, a place where people can't survive. The island is the only hope, and only those chosen in the lottery can live there." His voice grew colder as he continued. "You and the others in the compound are here to maintain order. We are the workers, the supervisors. We keep the system running. We will never go to the island." Lincoln wasn't convinced. He tried to ask more questions, but the doctor's demeanor grew sharper. "Enough questions, Lincoln. You need rest." With that, Lincoln was strapped into a chair for a series of tests. Devices were attached to his head, sending signals through his body as data was extracted and uploaded into the system. His urine would soon expel the collected information. The tests were invasive, but they were a normal part of life in the compound. Life here was about control, about maintaining the illusion of safety. And Lincoln felt increasingly like a puppet in a very tightly wound play. His days blurred into one another. He worked in the compound's industrial center, handling machines and mundane tasks. One of his co-workers, Jones 3 Echo, was content with the work, even finding it enjoyable. Lincoln, on the other hand, felt suffocated. It was when Lima 1 Alpha, another resident, collapsed at work, clutching her stomach in pain, that Lincoln's suspicion began to deepen. She was pregnant, and the others around her were excited. Why? Because Lima's child, they believed, would be sent to the island, a precious new life to inhabit the so-called safe place. Lincoln had seen the process before. Women became pregnant, gave birth, and then their babies were whisked away. But what happened to the mothers? To his growing horror, he discovered the truth when he snuck into the medical sector late one night. Disguised in a blue lab coat, Lincoln made his way through the sterile halls. He saw Lima in labor giving birth to a child, but when the doctor administered an injection to Lima after the birth, the woman began to tremble violently before dying. her life extinguished in a moment. The nurse quickly took the baby and handed it off to a couple in the next room. But it wasn't just any couple. The woman who received the child looked exactly like Lima. Lincoln's stomach twisted in disbelief. The lottery, the island, it was all a lie. His heart raced as he moved deeper into the medical facility. There he discovered Starkweather 2 Delta on an operating table, seemingly undergoing a procedure. But before the doctors could make an incision, Starkweather awoke in a panic, running for his life. Guards chased him and soon, shots rang out. Starkweather was gunned down in the hallway. Lincoln, hiding in the shadows, watched in silence, the full realization of the compound's dark truth settling in. Lincoln tried to leave, but the compound was in full alert. The security system had spotted him. Dr. Merrick, furious, ordered an immediate lockdown. Lincoln had seen too much, and he had to be captured before he could expose the truth. Desperate, Lincoln sought out Jordan. He found her in the women's quarters and urgently explained everything he had learned. The island? It was a lie. The residents weren't chosen to live there, they were harvested for their organs. The system was a facade, a prison built to breed and slaughter. At first, Jordan couldn't believe it, but Lincoln's conviction was enough to make her question everything. Together, they decided to escape. The underground tunnels were their only hope. The two ran through the labyrinthine corridors, pursued by guards. They barely made it out, emerging into the desolate wasteland outside the compound. For the first time, Lincoln could breathe freely, unencumbered by the suffocating rules of the compound. The air was clean. The world, barren and rocky, was not the contaminated wasteland they had been led to believe. They had been scammed big time. As they continued to run, they saw signs of life. A living snake slithering across their path, the unmistakable sign that the world outside was not dead. The island, the lottery, the contamination, it was all a lie. Back inside the compound, the announcement went out. Elsewhere, in a sleek conference room, Dr. Merrick was giving a polished presentation to a group of potential clients. He stood before them, explaining the work of his bioengineering facility, a place where human clones, called agnates, were created for a specific purpose. These clones were grown to match the biological age of their sponsors, genetically identical to the clients they were designed for. Agnates are more than just clones, Dr. Merrick explained with a calculated smile. They serve as a source of organs for our clients, providing livers, hearts, kidneys, whatever is needed. Additionally, female agnates can act as surrogates for those who cannot carry children. They are completely unconscious, never aware of their surroundings, never thinking or feeling. They are simply products, tools, not people. But Dr. Merrick's words were a lie. The agnates, including Lincoln and Jordan, were fully conscious. They could think, feel, and question their existence. They had memories that were inherited from the sponsors they were cloned from. This secret needed to be kept hidden, and Dr. Merrick had no intention of allowing it to come to light. After the presentation, Dr. Merrick met privately with Albert Laurent, a hired enforcer tasked with tracking down any escapees from the compound. The truth about the agnate's consciousness, Merrick explained, could ruin everything. If the public found out, the entire institute would be shut down for ethical violations. Laurent listened carefully. He was also briefed on the urgent matter of Jordan 2 Delta. Her sponsor, Sarah Jordan, had been in a severe accident and needed multiple organ transplants. Jordan was critical to her survival. The lottery wasn't a random selection for the island. It was a mechanism to retrieve the clones when their sponsors required a transplant. While Dr. Merrick was planning damage control, Lincoln and Jordan had escaped the compound. They found refuge with James McCord, a former insider who knew the full truth. Over drinks, McCord explained to them that they were not humans, but agnates, clones designed only for organ harvesting. "You're not real," McCord said grimly. "You're just copies, grown to serve. The names you've been given, the numbers, Lincoln 6 Echo, Jordan 2 Delta, they aren't yours. They belong to your sponsors." Lincoln and Jordan were shocked by this revelation. Everything they knew, their entire lives, had been a lie. McCord gave them cash, maps, and a credit card to help them escape. But he also warned them, don't trust anyone, especially humans. Laurent, meanwhile, was using advanced tracking systems to locate Lincoln and Jordan. The microsensors embedded in their bodies led Laurent's team to McCord's house. The agents killed McCord, but Lincoln and Jordan managed to slip away, boarding a train to Los Angeles to find Lincoln's sponsor, Tom Lincoln. When they arrived in Los Angeles, they located Tom Lincoln's home. Lincoln, using his wits, sneaked inside. There they saw photos of Tom Lincoln, a man who looked nothing like Lincoln, yet was his genetic twin. As the two agnates explored, Tom returned home, mistaking them for burglars. He struck Lincoln with a golf club. But when he saw Lincoln's face, he froze, shocked into disbelief. Tom explained that he had been suffering from liver disease, and that Lincoln was his insurance policy. The agnates, Lincoln and Jordan, were created to serve as backup organs in case something went wrong with their sponsor's health. The revelation stunned them. Lincoln and Jordan confronted Tom, revealing the truth about the Institute. Tom, after some hesitation, agreed to help. He promised to take them to a news channel to expose the compound, but first he needed to get something from his room. As soon as Tom left, he made a secret call to the Institute. "The insurance policy is here. What should I do?" His true plan was to hand them over to the Institute, betraying their trust. When Tom returned, they were ready to leave, but Jordan noticed something in Tom's eyes, a glint of deceit. She warned Lincoln that Tom was lying. They were about to be ambushed. As they drove away, Laurent and his team ambushed the car, opening fire. Inside, Lincoln and Tom fought for control. Both men were thrown from the vehicle. Laurent, holding a gun, was ready to shoot, but Lincoln, thinking quickly, imitated Tom's Scottish accent perfectly, confusing Laurent. Laurent hesitated, unsure of who was who. In that moment, Lincoln managed to adjust Tom's bracelet, a device that marked the real agnate. Laurent, thinking he had found the real Lincoln, shot Tom. The body was taken back to the Institute, but Lincoln and Jordan escaped. Back at the compound, Dr. Merrick was informed that some agnates were beginning to inherit memories from their sponsors, which led to self-awareness. This posed a major problem. If the truth got out, the Institute would collapse. Dr. Merrick's solution was drastic. Destroy the agnates who had become conscious. This would be done under the guise of the Island Lottery, where agnates would be told they were being sent to paradise, only to be killed. Lincoln and Jordan, now fully aware of the truth, made a plan to infiltrate the compound and stop the slaughter. Lincoln, disguised as Tom Lincoln, took a helicopter to the Institute. Jordan allowed herself to be captured by Laurent, hoping to buy Lincoln enough time to sabotage the operation from within. Inside the compound, Lincoln made his way to the control room. He began deactivating the holographic systems that maintained the illusion of the contaminated world outside. Meanwhile, Jordan managed to escape and meet up with him, giving him a stolen key to help with their mission. Dr. Merrick arrived at the control room to confront Lincoln. A violent fight broke out. While the two struggled, the security system malfunctioned, and agnates were loaded into an incineration chamber. In a desperate move, Laurent tried to stop the process, but he was too late. Lincoln, using the chaos, grabbed a gun and shot Dr. Merrick, killing him and ending the reign of control. The holographic illusion shattered. The agnates saw the truth. The world outside was not contaminated. It was alive and free. As Lincoln and Jordan shared a kiss, Laurent, watching from a distance, smiled. The truth had been revealed, and the agnates were no longer prisoners in a false world. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it was theirs to shape. To continue watching interesting stories, click on the recommendations on the right next. Subscribe to return for future videos, my friend. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon, my friend.